In the affluent suburbs of Westwood Hills, nestled behind wrought iron gates and manicured hedges, stood the grand estate of Ethan and Olivia Blackwell. To their neighbors, they were the epitome of success, a power couple whose love story was as enviable as their wealth. Ethan, a shrewd and charming investment banker, had built an empire through high-stakes deals and financial wizardry. Olivia, once a celebrated investigative journalist, had left her career behind to embrace the role of a socialite, dedicating her days to philanthropy, elegant soirees, and playing the part of the devoted wife. But behind the opulence and picture-perfect smiles, the Blackwells harbored dark secrets. Olivia had long suspected that Ethan's wealth wasn't just the product of brilliance and ambition. Whispers among the elite, strange late-night phone calls, and unexplained absences had planted seeds of doubt in her mind. And then there was the money, millions vanishing into the ether, rerouted through offshore accounts and shell corporations that made little sense. It wasn't just business. It was something far more sinister. One evening, as Olivia sipped her wine in their sprawling home, an uneasy feeling crept over her. The more she searched, the more uneasy she became. A file left open on Ethan's desk caught her attention. What she found sent chills down her spine. The documents detailed illegal transactions, fraudulent investments, and coded messages that suggested connections to dangerous people. Ethan wasn't just a brilliant businessman. He was laundering money for criminals. She felt her chest tighten as realization dawned upon her. The life she had built, the man she had trusted, was all a lie. But fear was a powerful force, and she knew that confronting Ethan outright would be dangerous. Instead, she began collecting evidence, meticulously compiling every detail, every transfer, every meeting he had kept hidden from her. Olivia's investigation led her to a secluded parking lot one fateful evening. Cloaked in shadows, she watched from the safety of her car as Ethan met with a man whose face she couldn't quite see. A briefcase changed hands, a nod, and then, just like that, Ethan returned to his car, completely unaware that his wife had witnessed everything. That night, Olivia couldn't sleep. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as she typed an anonymous tip to the authorities. She knew what she was doing was dangerous, but she had no choice. Ethan's secrets were too deadly to be ignored. What she didn't know was that Ethan had already sensed her suspicions, and he wasn't about to let her betray him. The storm raged outside as Olivia sat in her study, going over the evidence one last time. A sudden noise made her jump. A door closing too softly, footsteps too careful. She turned, her breath catching as Ethan stepped into the room. "You've been busy," he said, his voice smooth, but his eyes dark with something far more menacing. "Ethan," she whispered, trying to keep her voice steady, "you need to tell me the truth." He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "The truth, Liv? You think you can handle it?" Her pulse pounded as he stepped closer. She wanted to run, to scream, to fight, but before she could react, the room erupted into chaos. A struggle, a scream, a gunshot, and then silence. The next morning, the Blackwell mansion was a crime scene. Olivia's lifeless body lay on the marble floor, a gun in her limp hand, positioned just so. The police arrived to find Ethan distraught, his account of a break-in gone wrong shaky but plausible. To the world, it seemed like a tragic accident. But one detective, Harper Lawson, wasn't convinced. Detective Lawson had seen too many cases that didn't add up, and this one had all the hallmarks of a stage crime. As she combed through Olivia's belongings, she found something that made her blood run cold. An unsent email, meticulously detailing Ethan's crimes. Olivia had known. She had been ready to expose him. And now, she was dead. With this new lead, the case took a dramatic turn. The prosecution built a compelling case, painting Ethan not as a grieving husband, but as a manipulative killer who had silenced his wife before she could ruin him. But as the trial neared its climax, a surprise witness emerged. Ethan's mistress, a woman scorned, willing to testify against him in exchange for immunity. Her revelations shattered Ethan's carefully crafted lies, and the courtroom gasped as the truth came to light. The jury deliberated for mere hours. When they returned, their verdict was clear: guilty. Ethan Blackwell, once a man of immense power and wealth, was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Justice, it seemed, had been served. But just as the world breathed a sigh of relief, a final twist sent shockwaves through the case. Late one night, in his prison cell, Ethan received a letter. As he opened it, his hands trembled. The signature at the bottom made his breath hitch in his throat. It was signed Olivia Blackwell, and with it, a single chilling sentence: "You think this is over?" Ethan's hands trembled as he reread the letter, his mind spiraling into panic. Olivia was dead. He had made sure of it. And yet, the ink was fresh, the handwriting unmistakably hers. Who had sent it? And how did they know the truth? The prison walls closed in around him as paranoia set in. Every shadow became a threat. Every whisper in the yard sent shivers down his spine. Someone was toying with him. Someone who wanted revenge. And then, one night, a guard slipped him a note. "Tomorrow, you'll pay for what you did." Ethan wasn't safe. Not anymore. Ethan Blackwell sat on the thin, creaky bed of his prison cell, the letter clutched in his trembling hands. His mind raced, trying to process what he had just read. Olivia Blackwell. No, it wasn't possible. She was dead. He had seen to it himself. A chill ran down his spine as he reread the letter. "You think this is over?" The ink was fresh, the handwriting unmistakably hers. But Olivia was buried, her body lifeless and cold. So who had sent this? And how did they know the truth? The walls of the prison felt tighter than before, the air heavier. Ethan had always been in control, always the one pulling the strings. Now, for the first time in his life, he was the one being played. A guard walked by his cell, stopping just long enough to slide another note through the bars. Ethan snatched it up, his pulse pounding. "Tomorrow, you'll pay for what you did." Ethan swallowed hard. This wasn't just a prank. Someone was coming for him. The next day, the tension in the prison was palpable. Whispers followed him wherever he went. Inmates stared at him too long, their expressions unreadable. Even the guards seemed different, watchful, expectant. Breakfast was uneventful, but Ethan barely ate. He felt the weight of unseen eyes on him as he moved through the cafeteria. He needed to find out who was behind this before it was too late. By mid-afternoon, he had narrowed his suspicions to a handful of possibilities. There were men on the outside, rivals who would love to see him suffer. But this felt personal. It wasn't just about his crimes. It was about Olivia. Then, as he made his way back to his cell, a voice stopped him cold. "Didn't expect to see me again, did you?" Ethan turned slowly, his heart hammering. Standing behind the bars of an adjacent cell was someone he had never expected to see. Harper Lawson, the detective who had taken him down. Harper's smirk was slow, deliberate. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Ethan recovered quickly. "Didn't know they let cops in here." "They don't," Harper said, leaning against the bars. "But let's just say, I have friends in interesting places." Ethan narrowed his eyes. "What do you want?" Harper chuckled. "Oh, it's not about what I want. It's about what's coming for you." Ethan stiffened. "The letters. That was you." Harper shook her head. "No, but I have a pretty good idea who's behind them. And let's just say, you should be very, very afraid." Ethan's throat went dry. "Ooh." Harper's smile widened. "Wouldn't you like to know?" Before Ethan could respond, the prison alarm blared, a deafening wail that sent guards scrambling. Chaos erupted. Inmates rushed from their cells as shouts filled the air. The lockdown had been breached. Someone had planned this. Someone had made sure that today, Ethan would have nowhere to hide. Ethan ran. It was all he could do. He pushed past the fighting inmates, ducking as a makeshift weapon flew past his head. He needed to get to safety. He needed to survive. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw them. Two men, watching him, waiting. They moved as one, cutting off his escape. Ethan turned on his heel, but another figure blocked his path. He'd barely had time to register the face before the first punch landed. Pain exploded through his skull as he hit the ground. Boots crashed into his ribs, his chest, his back. He gasped for air, but the blows kept coming. The taste of blood filled his mouth. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. A voice cut through the haze of pain. Soft. Familiar. Did you really think I was gone? Ethan forced his swollen eyes open. His breath hitched. A woman stood over him, her face half hidden by the shadows. It couldn't be, but it was Olivia, alive. He tried to speak, but no words came. He could only stare in horror as she knelt beside him, her cold fingers brushing against his bruised cheek. "This," she whispered, her voice laced with venom, "is just the beginning." Ethan Blackwell had played the game well, but now it was her turn. The pain in Ethan's body was nothing compared to the sheer terror consuming him. Olivia, his dead wife, was alive, and she was standing over him, her expression unreadable, her presence a nightmare made real. "Ow!" he rasped, blood dribbling from his lips. I killed you." Olivia tilted her head, amusement flickering in her cold eyes. "Oh, Ethan," she murmured. "You really thought it would be that easy?" Ethan's mind reeled, trying to piece together the impossible. He had shot her. He had seen her fall, lifeless, her blood staining the marble floor of their mansion. He had made sure of it. The paramedics had pronounced her dead. So how? "I suppose you were too distracted covering up your crime to notice the small details," Olivia continued, circling him like a predator toying with its wounded prey. "Like the fact that I had a plan, long before you even considered pulling the trigger." Ethan coughed, his ribs screaming in agony. "What plan?" "The kind that ensured you'd never get away with this." She knelt down, her face mere inches from his. The scent of her perfume, one he had not smelled since the night he thought he had ended her, sent chills down his spine. "You see, Ethan, I knew you were dangerous. I knew you would kill me the moment you felt cornered. That's why I made sure that when you did, I wouldn't stay dead." Ethan's breathing grew shallow. His mind raced through every scenario, every possibility. You set me up?" Olivia let out a humorless laugh. "Not exactly, but I did take precautions. I had my own people watching that night. You were too busy panicking to notice the paramedics weren't standard responders." His stomach churned. No, that's impossible. I was wearing a specialized bulletproof vest, Ethan. You shot me, yes, and I went down just like I expected, but the vest absorbed enough of the impact to keep me alive. The blood? Fake. A perfectly staged death scene. And the paramedics? They weren't on it. They administered a drug that slowed my heartbeat, made it appear as if I had died. By the time they took me away, I was already being prepped for revival. Ethan's pulse pounded in his ears. She had played him from the very beginning. "You wanted me to get arrested." His voice cracked with disbelief. "You wanted me to go to prison." Olivia leaned in closer, her whisper like ice against his skin. "I wanted justice, and now I want revenge." A sharp whistle sounded through the chaos of the prison riot. The men who had beaten Ethan stepped back, awaiting a command. Olivia straightened, adjusting the sleek black gloves on her hands. "Here's the thing, Ethan," she said smoothly. "I could have let the legal system finish you off. Let you rot in this place for the rest of your miserable life. But then I realized that's not enough. Prison is too kind." Ethan tried to move, but pain shackled him to the cold concrete. You can't kill me," he gasped. "You wouldn't." She arched an eyebrow. "Would not." The overhead lights flickered as the prison sirens blared. The guard had lost control. The riot had escalated. And in the chaos, anything could happen. Olivia nodded to one of the inmates, a hulking man with dead eyes. Without hesitation, he reached down and pulled Ethan to his feet, holding him in place. Olivia stepped forward and, with a quiet, deliberate motion, placed something in Ethan's hand. A knife. His breath hitched. "What?" "You have two choices," Olivia said, her voice eerily calm. "Stay here, and these men will tear you apart. Or you can make it easy on yourself." Ethan's grip tightened around Blade. His eyes darted to the looming figures around him, their intentions clear. "You can't do this," he pleaded, panic rising. "You were supposed to be the good one, the moral one." Olivia's lips curled into a smile. "I was, until you killed me." With that, she turned on her heel and walked away, disappearing into the swirling madness of the riot. Ethan's mind screamed for an escape, but there was none. The men closed in, their eyes hungry for vengeance. The last thing he saw before the first strike landed was the ghost of Olivia Blackwell, vanishing into the storm she had orchestrated. By morning, the riot had been quelled. The prison was left in ruins, littered with the aftermath of violence and chaos. In the warden's office, Detective Harper Lawson leaned back in her chair, sipping her coffee as she read the latest report. Ethan Blackwell dead. Official cause? Stab wounds sustained in the riot. She exhaled slowly, setting the report down. Justice, she supposed, had been served in its own way. And Olivia? Well, she had vanished, her whereabouts unknown. Harper smiled to herself. Some mysteries didn't need to be solved. Some ghosts deserved a haunt.